Restorative practice to me means not necessarily community building because that's what everyone thinks it is. I think it's more about maturing yourself and bettering yourself, because freshman year, I was reckless. Like, I was so disrespectful and closed-minded and just rude. And I feel like being in circles with Mase and JC helped me mature myself, and now I care about important things like my grades and not surrounding myself with toxic people and doing what I need to do to make myself better.
My name is Juan Carlos Nieblas. Welcome, everyone. I work for the National Conflict Resolution Center. My title is RJP School Specialist. I currently provide support to Lincoln High School and RJP. The purpose of the film is to build relationships, empower the youth so they can learn and continue to heal. We want to be able to preserve the teachings that I've learned as a young person and the teachings that Macedonia has also learned from its teachers, and be able to create a safe space for students. More than anything, empower their voice, have an opportunity for them to relate with each other, connect, and have a meaningful experience at their school site.
So this is my second year here at Lincoln doing I was brought here to work with the staff, with students, to implement a restorative practice, right? To start implementing that on campus. So there's a lot of things we have to do. People right away think that students are not going to get suspended anymore. They're not going to be held accountable. A lot of myths, right? A lot of false beliefs about restorative work. But the real work starts with individuals, with ourselves. This work is really difficult because adults have to really challenge themselves and think about how they take things personal, how much time they spend making things about you. And it's really hard to self-reflect. Adults, like students, also have some trauma. They also have issues. They may be young teachers who are they have actual trauma that they've taken on from the actual students, right? And they don't realize that. And it's really hard to be restorative if you're not self-reflecting, if you're not doing your own work. Doing restorative work means that you're creating a safe space for students. And you can't create a safe space if you still have a lot of unresolved issues, right?
I feel like that RJP room is really welcoming. I feel students are always coming and dropping by and feeling like that's a safe place for them to be if they feel like they have nowhere else to go, or they feel like they don't want to be outside. Like, a lot of students know that they can come drop by and you guys will always welcome us, and even the other students that are there most of the time welcome each other. So it's a really good, I would say, communicative place on campus for students to just really interact with each other.
A good space for anybody that has stuff going through their lives. You know, there's people that they can talk to. I'd say personally, it got me out of a lot of situations that could have went bad.
When I visit the restorative practice room, I feel when I'm having a bad day, it could be a little chaotic, but I know that I won't stop talking to the people in that room because we're a family and we're really close. Like, over the year, we've grown really tight, and it's a safe place. Like, I could be myself and I don't feel like you guys would judge or like talk to my parents about things I tell you, or just go behind my back and do like things that could make me feel I don't know the word, like I'm weird or something.
It's important to have a space for young people where they can be themselves. I know throughout this process, a lot of them mentioned that they feel being, part of room 345 is something that they enjoy doing because of the trust they have in themselves and the trust they have on Mase and I.
Yeah, again, it's really tricky because if you really think about this, adults that are teaching or administrators or counselors, they don't come to work thinking, oh, my triggers don't impact students. My triggers don't impact my coworkers, but they do, right? They impact them in every way because they're human. And if you don't know them, if you don't acknowledge them, if you're not conscious of them, it's really difficult to move to the next step of restorative work, right? Your values, your beliefs, how are your values and beliefs impacting school climate? And if we don't work with the whole campus to self-reflect for individuals on values, beliefs, taking things personal, how much energy and time you as an adult spent making things about you. Now, imagine if everybody really reflected on that. So imagine if we as a society, if we're working for young people, if we could really spend time reflecting on how much time and energy am I spending making things about me, whether it's because other coworkers offended you or because other coworkers aren't doing what you want them to do, they're not talking the way that you want them to talk. How is that impacting students? How is that impacting school climate?
The mentoring piece of all this, of what restorative justice practices, has come to be now, is what's really have Mase and I connect to the youth.
Having a restorative room has helped me a lot because I started failing in my classes, and Macedonio and JC helped me and told me to get my stuff together. And this is just a place where I'm able to tell them about my problems and just vent to them.
Yeah, I feel like it is important to have people like you guys here. Because, if that type of person isn't there for the students at home, then right here at school is, some people that they can trust to talk to.
Even just get support from you and Mase. I feel a lot of students really get a lot of things. Or just being at lunch or coming by during passing period and just saying hi to anybody that's there, stuff like that. I think it feels good to have that.
It's influencing because everybody's doing something beneficial for themselves. So everybody's there to do something productive. It's not you're just there doing nothing. So it's cool because, people your age, people that your peers are, they're doing something with you.
I've known Mase since I was maybe 17, 16 years old. Me working in Macedonio gives me the opportunity to really see how much of his wisdom has passed down. As a kid, I went through all of this process of learning and being part of something, and now I get to pass that on. Now we can walk together in the same school and say, yes, look, we're alongside, and whatever he taught me, I'm still here teaching you. So it becomes even more powerful because I'm living proof as to how much of this work is healing.
This is a great example. I literally just got out of one right now. So PE, they're playing hockey, whatever. A kid gets hit in the eye with the hockey stick. He runs after some kid who thinks hit him, and he starts punching the kid, right? And the kid's like, what the hell's going on? And it turns out that boy never hit him. He wasn't even around him, right? So they brought the students to the office right now. They called me, they said, hey, can you come up here? I sit down with them. It turns out the boy that got hit realizes that the other boy never hit him. He doesn't know who hit him. The young man who was actually, he was assaulted, right? Because they thought they thought he was the one that did the hitting with the stick. He apologized and he said, I'm sorry if you thought it was me. It wasn't me. However, so here's what happens at most schools is that technically the young man that got hit and then started punching the other kid should have been suspended, right? Normally what happens, he's being suspended because he's beating somebody up without even knowing who hit him, right? Well, we have a mediation. They start talking. The other young man apologizes to him. The boy that got hit says, I'm sorry, I should have never done that, but I was angry. The other boy tells him, I understand you're angry, but I didn't hit you, right? And they end up shaking hands, and the boy that got beat up literally tells me and the VPs, he says, I don't think he deserves consequences. And this is a kid that got beat up, right? Right now, he just said that. I just left the room. And I said, why don't you think he deserves consequences? And he said, because it's not his fault. I would have been angry too. And yeah, he hit me and I didn't want to fight him, but he apologized to me and we're good. I don't think he deserves consequences. Okay, so the boy that got hit, he's not going to get suspended. We're going to work with him. He is going to have some consequences. He is going to be in a classroom for a day. We're going to support him there with his homework, just in terms of cooling him off. But it's not going to be on his record as a suspension, right? Because we understand what happened. Now every scenario is different. This is just one scenario. We had an incident with the young man. They jumped this kid. This young man who's getting straight A's just did something very stupid. Jumped in, got a couple punches in there, right? He's a straight A student, junior. Now, we talked to him and he was like, man, I can't believe I did that. That was stupid of me, right? He showed a lot of remorse. He apologized to the boy. He brought him in the room. He's like, man, I should have never hit you. I screwed up. I'm a straight A student. I just got caught up in the moment because, my friend had been hurt, whatever. That student was suspended. However, he had an opportunity to clear his suspension. He went and did 3 days of community service. He tutored other little boys and girls from a program nearby. For 3 days, he tutored them in English and math. We came back, we talked to him. He said, man, that was one of the best experiences I had tutoring those kids, right? And I said, well, how do you feel about, you were suspended. You would have been suspended longer, but we just suspended you for a day. Normally, it's a longer suspension, but we were able to erase your suspension. And he said, you know what? He goes, this is a lot better. Now it's erased, and I got to experience working with those young people. And he really liked the whole experience. Now, we're still hashing it out. Maybe we shouldn't have suspended him, right? But I wasn't in charge of that. It happened so fast. There were so many kids involved. The bottom line is we were able to work with him, clean his record out. He did community service. Now he actually wants to go back and volunteer on his own time, right? So this is the difference between what's restorative and what's just punishment and punitive system.
When I first got involved was in my freshman year. One day, he told him how I was getting warrants and I was gonna get arrested for these charges that happened back at Millennial Tech Middle in 8th grade. And that's when Mr. Arteaga reached out to me and told me like, hey, people are looking for you and you're going in trouble. And then from there, Mr. Arteaga used his connection with the RCC program and helped me get in there and eventually, work my way to where they cleared the charges. But to do that, I did go through an action plan, which was I went back to MTM, sat with all the staff there. We had a meeting, we talked, and we conversated about things that happened before in the past, and we all learned from it. It was something different because I didn't do that before. Part of the action plan was to do something with my family because it affected my family, the community, the school, and that was the point of the action plan, to give back since I partially took away. Then after that, those charges were dismissed and haven't been brought up again. And from there, I moved past that because that was something that happened a long time ago and wasn't going to let it define who I was.
Welcome, they are loved. They have 2 caring adults that are consistent with them, that have provided a space where they can be themselves. And at the same time, we hold them accountable. We hold them accountable through their academics. We hold them accountable through their behavior. We want to make sure that they're coming to school. And at the same time, we want to make sure that whatever stories they are sharing with each other, that they are able to learn from those stories and then create a meaningful experience of just being in high school.
Restorative circle. So there's practice, there's restorative justice, restorative practice, restorative circling, right? And restorative circling, there's so much more that happens that you can't learn in 3 days. And I consider it actually dangerous and harmful to everybody in a circle when somebody doesn't have the wisdom and knowledge on how to run it and hold that space. Because to us, in our indigenous way, it's sacred space. When you're in a circle, it's sacred. All of our ceremonies are in circles. You could list the ceremonies that we run, that we do. We're held accountable by our elders. I'm 51 years old, and I'm still held accountable for, I have to ask for permission even for some things that I'm doing. I have an 80-year-old elder I know very well from the Huichol Nation, and he is still being held accountable by his elders. So accountability is really the key word. You know, who holds somebody accountable that got that 3-day certificate? Who holds them accountable? And what are they doing with that? I don't even want to say it's knowledge. What are they doing with those 3 days that they learned something? Because you're barely being introduced to it. So it's just something to think about. We're not saying we're not here to put anybody down. It's something to think about, to really respect our traditional indigenous ways. Take that into consideration.
The most important thing about being at Lincoln and connecting restorative justice practices is whatever I have learned and whatever Mase have learned can be passed on to the youth. The young people that we connect with continue to have a voice for themselves. A lot of these teachings that are part of restorative practices are teachings that the youth already have inside of them. So I feel that the most important thing for us is that we continue to honor them. We continue to honor what they are going through, the resilience they're building, you know, the connection they have with one another that is going to make their school experience more meaningful. You know, the adults can learn this context and this content, but the youth are the ones that are really going to take off with it.